So going into town was so much fun today, and I had not planned to, but I went in to get a little something for my nephew and my son. And, it's a small town. So the first place that I pull in, well, it was actually the second place, but anyway, I pull in and I get into the parking lot and I have both windows down. It's really warm here right now. And speaking of which, I'll open that. And so I see, a couple that are both 82 years old walking down the street, and I've known them my whole life. And they don't recognize my car. It's changed. And I pull up with both the windows down. And at that age, you want to not startle someone or whatever. But just like they're like 20 something, you can joke with these people. And I lean my head down a little bit, and you can tell he's kind of looking in to see who I am. And I said, "Now you stay put right where you are, mister." And he just quick as a whip looks at me and he goes, "Yeah? Well, you make sure you remember to put that thing in park." And anyway, we have such a laugh because he loves to tease me. And they just look fabulous and great, and big hugs all around, and visiting on the street and laughing and telling jokes, but genuinely asking how I am as well, and it was just lovely, lovely. And they just look so great, and it does the heart good. But as I'm sitting and visiting with them, along comes, a woman who we share through marriage. Her grandson is my nephew rather. And so I get to visit with him, and I get to introduce him to both the 82-year-old couple. And, they reach out and hold his little hand. And of course I get too zealous and kissing him too much, and he kind of pushes me away from his face. And of course I get teased about that too, right? And so just lots of laughs. And I go into the local shoe store, and I've not met the lady in there, and I look at a few shoes for my nephew and or son. And anyway, I didn't score, but she was so excellent and so down to earth, and has such a varying range, and told stories about her son who's my age, and we laughed and carried on. And anyway, then I finally look at these beautiful mustard colored kid glove feeling leather shoes or boots, sort of in between a shoe and a boot. And she says, "Oh, they're just like period style, with these covered buttons." And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Like totally, I live in Bridgerton's." And so then she's laughing, and then we're talking about the sensuality of that show as I'm leaving. And as I'm leaving, in comes the fellow who appears to be someone who comes by her store every day. He's has this mobility through a wheelchair or a scooter, and she's like propping the door open and showing him all the new shoes, and they're joking around, and he's such a card. And then you see him drive on down the road or street. So then I'm just hightailing it and swinging my arm like my mother Bessie, and I get down to the outdoor store, and I buy some secretive little things that I'm going to take home, and I do that. But a little girl named Darla came in with these French braids, and her mom, and her and her brother are just cards and pills themselves, and so much fun in that store. And, the lady behind the cash register, I know her, and she's joking along with me, and we had so many laughs. And, and then when I go to pay, she hands me the thing, and it says Lightspeed. And she says, "I don't know, Susie, I'm pulling bullshit on that." And so she gets me laughing about Lightspeed. And I said, "Well, maybe it's Bancroft style Lightspeed." And so we have so much laughs about that. So then I'm running out of time, so I'm hightailing it back to the car. And when I do, who do I see is one of the people in our community who is unhomed. And I've ran into him a couple of times recently. And he says, so I go over and I give him a hug, and we say hello. And he says, "Susie, you got 75 cents for me?" And I say, I'm going to call him Ralph. I said, "Ralph, what do you need 75 cents for?" He says, "A Dairy Queen." He said, "It's Toonie Tuesday." I said, "Oh, well, why don't we go down and have a Dairy Queen with you?" So we did. I went down, and he showed me his new shoes and where he got them from, and all these things, because he'd gotten some new shoes. And we went in, and we got, a cone and a blizzard, and sat down and ate that together. And he had me laughing so hard. And he talked about how he'd met a woman in our community that we both know who has just done so many wonderful things. to encourage him on his path. And he talks about the fact that, he can't even hide from her. As soon as he sees him anywhere, she pulls right over, and that there's, he feels like he and her husband are his parents because, I'm just going to tell you, they have been so kind, right? And he has probably enriched their lives so beautifully because he is just a personality for sure. But he's carrying his fishing rod, and I said, "Wow, you got your fishing rod?" And he says, "Yeah." He's just getting some great rainbow trout out of the river. I'm like, "Holy!" I said, "Like, set me a friggin' plate." He said, "Yeah." He said, "We did them up with some lemon and some onion and some tin foil." And he says, "When they're all cooked, you just pull on them and all the bones come out, and so this makes it easy for them without having a home to be able to have a good meal." And so we laughed about that. What a great visit. And then I'm hightailing it back to the car because I'm really rushed, and some fellow I don't even know whirls down the window and says, "You better slow down or you're going to get a speeding ticket." And I'm laughing and he's laughing. And then I drive on home and I go, well, that's a trip to town. Just such enrichment and such joy and such pleasure. And I'm glad you really hung in there for the story. It was way better than it is when I tell it here. Take care. Cheers.